if you have a character that is likable and then does something irredeemable, the character still isn't likable. They're now irredeemable. Like, that's just how logic works. Like, really? Hello everyone, Riley here, and today's movie is Leave No Trace. Now, Leave No Trace stars Ben Foster and Thomasin Harcourt McKenzie as a father-daughter duo who live in a park, completely out of their own free will, not because they are homeless in the traditional definition of the word, but because they choose to live that lifestyle, and they pretty much live almost completely off the grid, besides for shopping at a supermarket for some food and clothes and like sleeping bags and stuff like that. But for the remainder of it, they live completely off the grid, and they eventually end up getting caught and have to integrate back into normal or traditionally normal everyday life. Now, the heart and soul of this movie is the father-daughter relationship between the two of them, and it works really well because you get a lot of the nuances between their relationship, and you really feel the pain that Ben Foster's character has that Thomasin doesn't really understand because she wasn't alive for a lot of these circumstances that happen. And the dynamic that creates between the two of them and their slightly differing ideology about why they actually live this lifestyle is great. And the two of them have fantastic chemistry. And Thomasin Harcourt McKenzie completely nails it in this movie, and it is 100% her movie more than it is Ben Foster. He's really good in the movie too, but she's more the focus of the film, and the two of them and the banter they have feels really realistic, and it feels really emotional and heartfelt a lot of the time, which really gives this movie a core emotional value to it, and you just really enjoy these characters and watching them throughout the journey. And also, this movie touches on a lot of great themes, like how people take extreme measures after a tragedy and often can't really see the big picture after it, and it really takes another outsider to really see and get perspective on another person's life and how you don't really have perspective on your own life. And I thought that worked really, really well. And other themes about how society just instantly judges you when they don't really understand you or you don't fit their societal norms and aren't exactly what you see, and how people only really think of things from their perspective as they normally do, and how they are just so quick to judge people that don't align with their perspective, which in the whole social media, Twitter news era of today is more prevalent than ever. However, there are a lot of ideas in this movie that are touched on but aren't really given enough time or enough focus to really develop enough or to really be as impactful as they could have been. For example, there's this whole idea about suicide that is brought up once or twice, but it doesn't really come up any other time or really have any overall deeper meaning to it. So it doesn't really feel like there's any closure to it by the end of the film. And there's this whole idea of PTSD with veterans that is brought into it and then never discussed again. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the book being given a lot more time to focus on these things, and the movie is not as refined as it could have been because it's trying to touch all of the elements of the book, but it just can't delve into all of them because the pace of the film would be completely all over the place. And that brings me to my biggest issue of this movie, and that is a lot of the character decisions in the third act. And a lot of them on multiple characters' parts, not just one, are completely 100% irredeemable. And honestly, if you just look back and actually say, they're doing this in the basic sense of the word, I can't justify anyone actually doing that. And I get that if you had more time to develop the characters in the second half of the movie and develop the more arcs that they had, it could have come across better, but then the pace would have gone completely all over the place. And I feel like this movie was really held back by the actual parts of the book that they feel beholden to. And even though the end of the film does work better with the character progressions individually, it just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of complete closure to the movie because a lot of the decisions just seem completely irrational. And another thing with the end of this movie, there are just too many fake endings of this movie where I think it could have ended there and the movie would have been better for it, but the character arcs and the meaning of the movie wouldn't have come across as well. So I understand why they did what they did. It just didn't completely work. And I feel like had they just changed things up a little bit, or at least changed the presentation of how some of these scenes went down at the end, it could have become a lot more powerful and just not felt as just out of left field and really just disheartening that people are actually willing to do these things. Now, those were my thoughts on the movie. I still think it's a decent watch. I think that the end kind of hinders it from being as good as it could have been. But overall, if you've seen the movie, drop down in the comment section below what you thought of it. And if you like this video, drop a like on this video, subscribe, and click the bell notification icon right next to it. And as always, thanks for watching.